So it's really great to be here at CTIA. I have to tell you, sitting backstage, one thing that was really obvious is we didn't hear a single cell phone ring. And that tells me one of two things. You guys are either really, really aware of your cell phones, or there's no coverage in here, so our demos are screwed. But we'll figure it out as we go. Again, I manage at Apple all the various things that we're doing in our media sense. But a lot of you guys are probably not as familiar with what's going on up close at Apple. What's the news? What's been breaking at Apple lately? We've been working in this industry for a few years, my team doing business development. I wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about what's new at Apple, so everyone in this room is completely up to speed as I am on what we're doing. We just had the best quarter in 9 years at Apple. I mean, you guys remember we had some dark times, right? We had our near-death experience, and we've evolved out of that over the last 7 years, and so we had our best quarter last year. We shipped over 2 million iPods just last quarter, and this is our Christmas quarter. So I'm really eager to see what happens this coming quarter. We have a pretty robust product lineup with consumer and professional products on the desktop and portable. We have a brand new iMac product. Our iBook products are doing really well. We just speed bumped those. Our G5 machines are really important machines to this community. Certainly, the content creation part of what we do is based on the G5 and, of course, the the PowerBook. These are the products, though, that we're spending more time using and talking about in this industry, in the mobile communications industry. These don't get as much fanfare, they don't get TV ads, they don't get all the attention that our consumer products do, but these are the products that are driving a lot of acceptance and a lot of awareness into what we're doing in the mobile space. The guy in the top is our Xserve server. It's a 1U rack-mounted, 19-inch, slided in, 2 G5s built in with a really fast I/O architecture. You know, any one of these products can keep 5, 6, 7,000 cell phones busy at a time. And it's going really well. And what's interesting is we sell the hardware and we give the software away. It's an interesting model comparison to some of our competitors, Microsoft and Real, who make money selling software after you go buy the hardware. We give the software away. The streaming software, all the administration software is built in. And the device underneath there, the big guy in the bottom, is our Xserve RAID, 6 terabytes of storage in just one of these 3U devices. And we're into some heavy metal, guys. We're selling configurations like this into operators around the world because we like to sell a lot more. It's a beautiful thing. There really are industrial strength telco grade products based on our brand new OS, Mac OS X. Tiger is what's coming up, codenamed Tiger. We haven't shipped it yet. This will be our 5th installation of our Mac OS X product family. And what's really important about this isn't the Mac OS that a lot of us knew for years and years. Restart your computer 3 times a day because you need to. You know, applications that take a left turn and bring your whole machine down. That's not what this is about. This is a very modern architecture. And you know what? We go into telcos and we'll sit there doing demonstrations. We'll sit there with our laptops open or display running something, and it's a beautiful interface that we've created. And the telco guys are like, you know, Frank, this is really cool, but I'm really into Unix. I'm like, excellent, because so are we. This entire operating system is Unix. There's nothing cooler than when someone says that, and you hit the Command-Shift key, and up pops a Unix shell, and you type in ls/a, and they just light up. That's Unix. I know that, you know? And it really works, because right there next to our iTunes store or Excel spreadsheet, we can pop open a Unix shell and actually see what's going on inside the computer and control the computer right from this Unix terminal. And we have a lot of software. The white box is our consumer software. We ship 5 different applications with every Macintosh we sell that does audio and video and DVD production, managing your still photographs, and as well a product we call GarageBand that lets you actually get the inner musician out and record right directly into a Macintosh. It's a really cool app. But it's the product on the left, the black box, which is our Pro Suite. We sell a lot of the Pro products independently, but the Pro Suite, headlined by Final Cut Pro, our world-class nonlinear digital video editing system, leads the way, and it's in the content creation and entertainment space. This is the product that's used just so much of the way. DVD Studio Pro, 60% of all professional DVD titles are authored using our DVD Studio Pro titles. And the list goes on and on. We've got some world-class, industrial strength, professional-grade content creation tools. And you'd have to be living under our rock not to know what's going on in this space. Our iTunes Music Store and iPod have this Remarkable, remarkable track record in just the very short time that it's been up. The iPods, you know, in the hard disk player market, we have 92% market share in the hard drive-based market. That's phenomenal. And there is a steady stream of competitors coming onto the market. I also manage our performance marketing lab where we do competitive analysis, and my guys are making daily runs to Fry's to pick up the latest gadget to test against us. But we still have 92% share. Add to the market flash players, you know, memory-based MP3 players, and we still have 65% market share with the iPod. And our cheapest one is like $250. We must be doing something right there. The world loves this product, and we're continuing to iterate on it as quickly as we can. The music store, another really cool thing that we've done. We have 72% market share in this space. Add up everybody else, multiply times 2, and they're still smaller than us, and that includes Microsoft. So we'll see what happens over time because there's a lot of competition in this space, and our goal is to stay ahead of that as aggressively as possible. What we're here to talk about primarily today is QuickTime. QuickTime and the various technologies around QuickTime that are providing a really interesting set of tools and capabilities for us to make a difference in the mobile space. And we focused a lot of our energies there. You know, you can't be taken seriously in this space unless you have serious distribution. One thing that we have at Apple with QuickTime is incredible distribution. The Frost & Sullivan guys did a report. It was their own report. It wasn't sponsored by any one of the media player companies, Microsoft, Real, or us. And they came up with the following information. Now, a lot of us have Macs and PCs with multiple players on them, but they normalized this down to 100%. They forced everyone into a 100% number. And they put Windows Media at 38.2%. And they're in the lead. Not surprisingly, they have that distribution advantage, which is being looked at from time to time and place to place. And Frost & Sullivan says they're relatively flat. Enter QuickTime at 36.8%. We were so thrilled when we saw this come out. Kind of a testament to the work we've been doing, and I'll go into a little bit about our distribution. And it shows that we are growing. And then there's Real Networks with the Real Player at 24.9%. And not growing. And that puts us at 1.4% behind Windows Media. I mean, nothing made me happier when we were basically on par with Windows Media. And the analysts at Frost & Sullivan believe that it can go either way. It's a horse race at this point. And we're not going to slow down because every day we're downloading 350,000 copies of QuickTime. That's 4 copies every second of every day is downloaded somewhere in the world, or 10 million a month if you want to go bigger. We actually have incredible distribution, and this is just from our website. Add to that the distribution deals we have with some of the biggest companies around. HP and Sony put QuickTime on their computers. AOL, every copy of AOL 9 includes QuickTime. And AOL is bundled on Dell computers and others, so we have this kind of leveraged effect of distribution. In addition, content creation tools. There's thousands of them that have come out over the years that are built on top of a QuickTime API. Tens of thousands of titles, end-user multimedia titles. Enhanced music CDs, can't even count them. How many come out that have QuickTime on the disk? With the room that's left over after the music, they put an install on the disk of QuickTime. Digital cameras. There are hundreds and hundreds of digital cameras that put QuickTime in the box from about 60 or 70 different companies. So it's going really, really well in this space for us. And it's just continuing to grow. One of the things that we've done that's really helped accelerate our growth is the relationship we have with the standard of MPEG-4. This is where we have our unfair advantage, but I'll take it, because you got to do that when you can. In 1998, the ISO, the mothership standard body, the folks that manage MPEG, approached Apple. And they asked us, Apple, we're designing a new MPEG, a scalable MPEG for the internet. We'd like to use your file format. We're like, well, why? And they said, well, we've looked at what we want to do with this new standard, and you guys have already been doing it in QuickTime for years. QuickTime came out in 1991. We never changed the architecture. We've improved on it, we've added to it, but it's fundamentally the same. Matter of fact, just the other day, literally last week, we clean our offices every once in a while. We put all the interesting stuff or what we think is interesting in a general place, and you can come rummage through it and get stuff that's cool. I found a QuickTime 1 alpha disk. This thing was pushed back in 1989. I took the disk, I put it in my laptop, and up came a movie. And I'm like, I wonder if everything I've been saying is really true, that we've never discontinued support of a codec. And this is about as brutal a test as you could put. I double-clicked it, and it played. I mean, it was pretty horrible by today's standards, but it played. We haven't changed anything that affects our backward compatibility. So when the ISO approached us and said, can we use your file format, 1998 plus 2 nanoseconds, we're like, yes, yes. You've done pretty well with MPEG-1 and MPEG-2, so this MPEG-4 is probably a shoo-in, right? And it actually was. It's gone incredibly well. In September, QuickTime was ratified as the file format officially in the standard. In February of 2002, we announced, we demonstrated, we showed off, but we didn't ship QuickTime 6, which featured our MPEG-4 support. And why, you say? Because 2 weeks before we launched our product, MPEG-LA launched their licensing terms. And that pissed us off. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. And so we spent the next 6 months working with the industry, working with MPEG-LA, trying to get some reason added to the licensing terms. And you know what? We were able to get, with the industry, not just us, some caps and thresholds and different metrics added to the license. And we still don't think it's good enough. But it hasn't really slowed our distribution much because in less than 2 years after we shipped it, we distributed over 250 million copies. This is just from our website. This doesn't include any of the other distribution. But another interesting thing happened. Anywhere, and this is something we didn't count on when we made the deal with the ISO a long time ago. Anywhere the MPEG-4 file format goes a level of compatibility with QuickTime, right down at the bitstream level. So in 3GPP and 3GPP2 and Motion JPEG 2000 and all the other industries which have embraced the MPEG-4 file format as theirs has gained a level of accessibility with all the tools that QuickTime creates. We had to train QuickTime very simply by adding a codec and an extension, .3GP, .3G2. That's easy to do. It was very easy for us to instantly introduce compatibility, built-in compatibility, to these 2 standards and any other standard that matters to us. Remember this slide? The applications in this picture and all the others that have used QuickTime as the foundation automatically inherit compatibility to the 3G or 3G2 standard or anything else that's based on MPEG-4 just by installing the latest version of QuickTime, which is free. So you buy the software, you've got some hardware. One day you don't have 3GP built in. The next day you download QuickTime 6.5, which is our latest version, and all the 3G options just show up in the menus that are already there, built into your application. It's a pretty cool way for us to keep our entire user base up and going. What about this? What about these guys? You know, we all go to Japan. We know we have to go there to figure out what's going on. And this was just one street corner somewhere, a Docomo stand. And I get the question a lot. Well, you've got QuickTime on a desktop, and you've got a QuickTime streaming server, and you've got all these other tools. What about QuickTime in phones? Here's the good news. There's no QuickTime in a single cell phone anywhere on the planet. That's really good news for us because the phone manufacturers, people in this room and people all around the world, build in 3GPP or 3GPP2 compliant players into their phones. They read from the same recipe book that we do. We cook our standards based on the exact same model. So when we issue a version of QuickTime that has built-in support for either or both of the standards, it communicates directly with these phones. Now, granted, we do a lot of testing. We like to make sure that there's no errant bit or no little mistake that one of us has made. But the good news is overwhelming compatibility. And we don't have to put our player on a single handset. The guys at Microsoft and Real are spending a lot of time porting their desktop players to handsets. You can't keep up. I mean, Vodafone just said they're launching 10 new ones for the coming season. The guys in Japan are turning their products over constantly. I would hate it if our engineering guys had to spend all their time porting players to these phones. You can't keep up. That's a losing proposition. We are compatible with more handsets a year and a half ago than the other guys will ever be, just based on the fact that we don't have to do any players and the industry does it. So we have content creation tools, a whole set of software that's out there and runs. We have delivery platforms. We have our Xserve and Xserve RAID. We have a desktop player, which is being used by a lot of the folks. We'll show you some demos in a second on how this all comes together and delivers that kind of entertainment or informational experience. And of course, compatibility with all the handsets that include 3G or 3G2 players. So there's 2 basic areas where we've made a lot of progress and have generated a lot of attention. Multimedia messaging. This is where computers and phones are creating content, sending them over the wireless networks to both phones and computers. Of course, we don't play anywhere in the space where it's phone to phone because that's not our space. We do play a lot where there are computers involved on either end. And we'll actually demonstrate that for a minute. We've got some pretty interesting announcements in the past we've made with KDDI and Docomo and Sprint, and Verizon Wireless. These are folks that are using QuickTime to manage all of their multimedia messaging. It's so prevalent on desktops. It's so easy to get. It's free. And it's absolutely compatible with the devices that they ship that we've been able to talk about publicly the relationships we have with these guys. Multimedia publishing is another area where we've done really well. Take live satellite feeds or off of camera or using our products to create 3G compliant files off of a G5 or a PC running any QuickTime tool. Push that into an operator or the content providers hosting it themselves. The files are compliant. Remember, when you're using QuickTime, this is something that I should point out. When you're using QuickTime, you're using QuickTime. And the files that you're working with are QuickTime files, and it belongs inside, basically the QuickTime architecture. But when you export out, as I'll show you in a couple minutes, that file comes out is no longer, if you save it as a 3GPP file or a .mp4, it's no longer a QuickTime file. It belongs to the standard. So it just goes off and it will play anywhere else where a compliant player is, like a phone. We have done pretty well in the last year and a half or 2 years. We actively have trials running in over 25 operators worldwide, with discussions with 25 or 30 more on the way to get our content, our test suite from content creation, distribution, and playback qualified. It's going really, really well for us. What I figure we do now is tempt the demo gods a bit, in that it's not bad enough to do computer demos, but then you add the internet, and that's bad enough. But then you have a computer with the internet and wireless. Let's put those all together and see if we can't poke the demo gods square in the eye and try something interesting. So what I'd like to do is invite Eliza Hutchison, who works in the QuickTime team, to join me on stage, because this is a two-person event. And Eliza, what are we going to show first?
Well, I brought a couple phones with me today. The first phone I'd like to talk about, I have in my hand right here, is an LG 7000, and this is offered by Verizon Wireless. With this phone, I can take advantage of Verizon Wireless's Get Flick service, where I can capture 3GPP2 content, video content on the phone, and send it to another phone. But more interestingly, I can also send it to an email account on a desktop using QuickTime for playback. So with that, I'd like to demonstrate this for you. And I'm going to need to create a video, and I need a star performer.
Or a shill.
Exactly.
Get the camera aimed at me.
I'm going to do that. Okay, can you smile? Say hello.
Hello.
Great.
Monkey boy.
Okay. There's a very bright light behind your head, but we're going to go ahead and send this video.
That's a good thing.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I don't get many halos around me.
Okay, so I've just addressed it from my address book. I'm going to go ahead and send it to Frank's email account. This video is now being sent over Verizon Wireless's 1X RTT network. We're sending it to, obviously, a Macintosh computer running Apple's Mail application. But because QuickTime is cross-platform, it could be sent to any Windows computer running a variety of mail clients.
So how are we doing there?
We are sending the message.
Good. Sending is good.
Something that we've seen with companies like Sprint and Verizon Wireless and KDDI and Docomo choosing QuickTime exclusively to be their content playback software is that all of these companies' websites are showing up in our top 10 and our top 25 downloads, which is really replacing a lot of the internet traffic that we used to get. So now the message has been sent.
And it should be here. Et voila.
With our mail application, QuickTime jumps to life. You can see the video right in the actual email itself.
Can you smile? Say hello. Hello.
Ooh, that does look special.
Something else that we can do that we're really excited about is not only create the content on the phone and send it to a desktop, but you can also take the content that you might already have on your desktop, encode it into a 3G file format that's compatible with the phone, and send it to the phone. So now we'll have Frank demonstrate how that's done using our product QuickTime Pro.
So we talked about cameras and stuff. This is a really cool camera from Sanyo, which speaks Japanese. I'm learning Japanese from my camera. It actually is really cool because it has an SD card in it. It's a half a gig, but it shoots video as well as still images. And so we sent this out with one of the folks on our team, and stunned by Motodes, the camera just said. And so what I want to do is, here's this big old video. I mean, these cameras shoot near DV quality. It's not quite DV quality, but I'll give you a sense of what this looks like. So there's a big piece of content. There's no way that this content is going to fit on my phone. So what I'm going to show you guys is what people are doing all over the world today. Docomo and KDDI, for example, use this product exclusively to create all the content for their iMotion and AU services. So I'm going to go up and grab an export panel. And I want to export this as some file. And you can see we have lots of different file formats that we support. Well, let's stick with 3G. Click on options, because I might want to tweak it a bit. We support 3GPP, 3GPP2. There's video settings, audio settings, text streaming, advanced. And what I can do, just for the sake of time, is leave the settings where I put them last and just save this video to the desktop as the file is called Gabby Slide. And it changed it from .mp4, which it says up here, because that's what the file format is. We're going to transcode it to a .3G2 file. And I'll just save it, and this is how hard it is to go from a big old near DV-sized file down to a little cell phone file. It's doing a transcoding right now, and it should show up on a desktop. And there it is. So what I want to do now is send this file to Elisa's phone. So I will create a new message, test, because that's what this really is, and attach the file, choose it, there it is. So now I'm going to say send. It's sent. It's off my computer and now belongs to the demo gods. Please come back, file, come back. I'm sure it will. This kind of demo was kind of interesting. When we launched the QuickTime's 3G capabilities, we couldn't do it standing here in San Francisco. We did it 9 months ago or so. And we went to Japan to launch our ability to do this because you couldn't do it here. I mean, we did a demo like this summer, and we're so happy. We're listening to the early presenters talk about build-out of networks and the kind of throughput. You know, I think it's going incredibly well here. The major metropolitan areas are getting a lot of attention, and that's really good. So we can do these kind of demos right here, even inside this hall. How are we doing there?
So we've received the message.
We're receiving the message.
So I need to set up the
Which
phone.
one was it?
This one.
That one?
Let me get that centered and focused for you. So this is how the message appears. I'm going to go ahead and view it. There it is. Sorry.
So it works. It really does work. And as Elisa said earlier, we watch our downloads every day because we live and die by the numbers. And we've noticed that repeatedly, people from Verizon's network and Sprint's network have been showing up in our top downloaders list. And that's driven by the acceptance and sale of these phones.
So I actually have another phone I'd like to share with you today. That was sort of mobile messaging, and we'd like to share with you how QuickTime is also working in that mobile publishing space as well. I have a Samsung A700, which is offered by Sprint. Using this phone, you can take advantage of Sprint's Multimedia Vision network, and this is a professional content network that's offering streaming content. That's an example of what the multimedia menu looks like. You can see a series of channels there. Sprint TV is kind of your basic comprehensive service offering sort of news, weather, and sports from familiar brands. Sprint TV is all powered by QuickTime. In addition to that, you can buy some premium channels. Fox Sports is an example of a complete end-to-end QuickTime and Apple workflow. They're using Final Cut Pro HD to do their editing and encoding. They're using QuickTime Streaming Server to serve that over RTSP into the Sprint network, running on an Xserve and using Xserve RAID for storage. So they're creating about 40 clips a day. Let's look at an example here. Again, this is being streamed over their 1XRTT network as well, down to the phone.
It is coming.
Obviously, we're here today to to announce that the University of Florida has made a decision, and a difficult decision, to terminate the contract of Coach Ron Zook, effective at the end of the year. Coach Zook has agreed to coach the remaining 4 games.
Poor Mr. Zook.
That was a little bit of a depressing news clip to show you. Sorry about that. But anyway, so those are 2 great examples of how we're working in the mobile messaging space and also how we're working in mobile streaming. You should look for more and more announcements on this and more content providers that hopefully will be using our solution to deliver this kind of content to you and your customers.
Cool. Thank you for your help. Appreciate it. What a lot of what we found is, as a lot of the content providers who are interested in providing content to the mobile networks, they're already using Macs. I mean, Hollywood is a QuickTime town. It always has been. And we do incredibly well in that space. So when Fox Sports, approached the guys at Sprint, the workflow just worked with all their existing stuff. Final Cut Pro on G5s. They host on Xserves. They've partnered with Akamai to deliver the content over the internet right into Sprint's infrastructure. So it's going incredibly well for them. So what I'd like to do, if we go back to slides, please, is talk a little bit about what's coming up next. Bless you. This is very exciting for us. I don't get to talk about what's coming very often. We don't get extra credit points for talking about the future at Apple. We like to wait until it's there. But in this particular case, I got a get out of jail free card. And we're thrilled with this codec. This is a new video codec. It doesn't replace MPEG-4. That's a standard that's this big. Today's MPEG video codec, appropriately called MPEG-4 Part 2 video, is what's shipping in all the phones today. It's what's being used around the industry for MPEG-4 video. There's a new video codec coming, which promises incredible quality. It's incredibly efficient. I'm going to demo that for you in a second. Scalability is amazing. We've never seen a codec scale from 3G data rates up to and beyond HD. I mean, we're talking to people in the film industry that are looking forward to this because there's profiles of this codec that actually reach up to and touch and respect film-grade color and film resolution. It delivers full HD playback on today's shipping hardware, so it actually runs in today's computers. And if you've been watching the press at all, there's already working prototypes of this codec on cell phones. We saw one from Sanyo last week in Japan. And so it's a ratified part of the MPEG standard, and perhaps more exciting than anything else, it's built right into QuickTime. So what I'd like to do is show you 3 quick demos of what this incredible codec can do for you. The first one, big. Here is 960 by 406 wide aspect ratio, 24 frame progressive encoding at 1.5 megabits. Check out the quality of this. At 1.5 megabits, it's phenomenal. That it provides. That eyelid guy really freaks me out. So if you thought it looked good up there, you got to see it on here. I mean, nothing compares to seeing it on these incredible displays. Example of big. That's not even really big. I mean, we've done encodings that are full HD at 6 megabits. I mean, today's DVD data rates, what we're able to get full HD images out of this codec, it's remarkable. So let's put this codec through its paces a little bit. Let's do something more interesting. We talked about efficiency, not just scalability. Well, what I have here are 2 different movies. We forced the frame size to be the same, and we encoded it kind of with our eyes, like how does it look, approximating quality on the display. And the movie on the left, this guy, is encoded using AVC, or this H.264 video codec. The movie on the right, here, is today's MPEG-4 Part 2 codec. In order to approximate the quality, we had to crank up today's MPEG-4 Part 2 codec to 800 kilobits per second. The equivalent quality in AVC allowed us to drop the data rate by a factor of 4, down to 200 kilobits. I mean, that's the kind of things that we know the folks in this telecom industry are really excited about, saving bandwidth. Same on the internet, same on cable systems. Everywhere this codec goes, it's going to save stuff. So let me play these both side by side, and I'll actually try to zoom up a little bit on these so you can get a sense. Is two side-by-side movies demonstrating the efficiency of AVC when compared to today's MPEG-4 Part 2 codec. We're able to cut the data rate by a factor of 4, which we're really thrilled with. We know a lot of other people are. So let's do one last demo, which takes a look at a data rate that's more typical in this space. Let's launch a file encoded at 160 kilobits per second with AVC, and another one that's 160 kilobits per second with today's MPEG-4. Now this is where you start seeing the real benefits of this codec technology. I'm going to start and stop this, so don't, when I start, keep the house lights down. I'm going to start and stop it at certain scenes if my fingers are fast enough. And you can see the freeze frame quality, the pixelation in one and the smooth results in the other. The artifacts in one don't show up in the other one. So I'll start it, but I'm going to start and stop it a couple of times. We'll see how good I am at hitting the good frames. You can see very clearly on the right-hand side, today's Part 2 codec is, it's got blocking artifacts as big as your head, right? It's just in the way. The image on the left, smooth. Same data rate, different codecs. Let me start it up and see if I can pick another good spot. There. I mean, everything is really jaggy. The tile floor, that lady's arms and all the clothing is all jaggy and artifacted. This is the kind of quality that we're going to be able to deliver in the next version of QuickTime that'll ship in our next version of the OS, which is coming out in the early part of next year, that everybody that uses QuickTime will just get. So with that, let me back off here and talk about how we're looking forward to this codec, not just for the 3G space, but definitely in the 3G space, and across all the work that we're doing. So with our content creation tools and the experience we have with our APIs and upgrading people around the world to the latest versions of QuickTime that support and respect the standards, we are card-carrying members of the ISO. I mean, it's really accelerated QuickTime well. With our content distribution technologies, our Xserve, Xserve RAID being plugged into more and more operators' telcos every time we successfully complete a trial. And of course, our desktop distribution model in getting players out there so everybody in this room can count on a compliant player being available on a desktop. We think we've got a pretty cool combination, and I want to thank CTIA for introducing us to this incredible crowd and letting us come up here and talk about it. And hope you have a great day. Thanks a lot.